Hello, and welcome to the virtual public hearing with in-person option for the proposed improvements to US 281 Military Highway from FM 732 to FM 1421 in Cameron County, Texas. My name is Samantha Champion, and I'm the Planning Program Manager for Hicks & Company, a subconsultant for this project. I will be presenting on behalf of the Texas Department of Transportation, or TxDOT. This presentation has been pre-recorded. Thank you for participating in this virtual public hearing with in-person option. Public participation is important in the transportation planning process, and TxDOT appreciates your input on the proposed project. This virtual public hearing with in-person option will include the following topics of discussion: the purpose of the public hearing, the project limits, the need for and purpose of the proposed improvements, a description of the proposed project, a description of the environmental studies being prepared, a description of the right-of-way acquisition process, the next steps in project development, and how to provide comments. November 7, 2000 was the last deathless day on Texas roadways. That means for nearly 22 years, at least one person has died every single day. We all have a part to play to change that. This message is that reminder to end the streak of deaths on Texas highways. We need drivers and passengers to act more responsibly and help us reach our goal of 0 deaths by 2050. Texans can play a major role in ending fatal crashes with a few simple driving habits. Wear seatbelts, drive the speed limit, put away the phone and other distractions, and never drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So please do your part and share this message with your friends and family. The purpose of this virtual public hearing with in-person option is to encourage and maintain effective communication with the public and provide project-specific information as it relates to the US 281 Military Highway improvements in Cameron County. Your input and comments are an important part of this process, and we encourage you to provide comments on this project. As I mentioned earlier, your continued participation throughout the planning and development of the project is very important. You are encouraged to talk to your neighbors and refer them to TxDOT so they can also make comments and be included in this process. This project is in Cameron County and traverses the limits of Brownsville, San Pedro, Encantada Ranchita El Calabos, and La Paloma. The project is located just south of the limits of San Benito and crosses portions of the Lower Rio Grande Valley National Wildlife Refuge. The proposed project would reconstruct and widen US 281 Military Highway from a 2-lane to a 4-lane rural highway with intersection improvements from approximately 0.3 miles west of FM 732 to 0.18 miles west of FM 1421. The project is approximately 5.8 miles in length, and the estimated construction cost is approximately $24.5 million. The proposed project would be constructed in phases. The approximate limits of the first phase are from FM 1421 to FM 1577, and the limits of the second phase are from FM 1577 to FM 732. The map shown here shows a general vicinity of the proposed project. As the population of the project area and surrounding region have continued to increase, so have traffic volumes and resulting congestion. In turn, mobility along this stretch of US 281 Military Highway, as well as the operational efficiency of the roadway, have decreased. The purpose of the project is to improve mobility and increase operational efficiency by constructing additional travel lanes and making operational improvements, such as constructing left turn lanes and shoulders. The proposed project would also help to ensure the capacity of US 281 Military Highway, which serves as a designated hurricane evacuation route, is sufficient to support fleeing residents and associated emergency vehicles during extreme weather events. The proposed project is anticipated to be programmed with both state and federal funds. Because of this, TxDOT is required to assess the potential environmental effects of the proposed project in accordance with federal standards. The process that is followed is called the National Environmental Policy Act process, otherwise known as NEPA. The NEPA process provides analyses of the potential impacts to the natural and man-made environment and helps the decision maker to make an informed decision on whether or not to proceed with the project. On December 9, 2019, TxDOT received a signed Memorandum of Understanding from the Federal Highway Administration that permits TxDOT to assume responsibility from the Federal Highway Administration for reviewing and approving certain assigned NEPA projects. This review and approval process applies to this project. Since the proposed project would utilize state and federal funds, it is required to adhere to the National Environmental Policy Act. NEPA requires analysis of potential impacts to the human and natural environment as a result of the proposed project. As part of the environmental process, technical analyses were completed to document the potential environmental impacts of the project. The resource categories studied include biological resources, including threatened and endangered species and their habitats, water resources, including waters of the U.S. and wetlands, cultural resources, including historic and archaeological resources, hazardous materials, traffic noise, community resources, including environmental justice populations, air quality, and parklands protected under Section 4F of the Department of Transportation Act and Chapter 26 of the Parks and Wildlife Code. The technical reports are available for review upon request at the TxDOT FAR District Office. All environmental documentation was developed in accordance with NEPA, TxDOT, and FHWA standards. The proposed project would require approximately 3.1 acres of new right-of-way. Potential displacements include 2 outbuildings or carports and 2 commercial structures. No residential displacements are anticipated as a result of the proposed improvements. Also, the proposed project could require a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Section 404 permit. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Section 404 permit establishes a program to regulate the discharge of dredged or fill material into waters of the United States, including wetlands. This pertains to infrastructure development projects such as highways or airports. The proposed project would require the acquisition of approximately 0.0725 acres of right-of-way from Don Jose Esposa Park. The right-of-way to be acquired is located adjacent to the existing right-of-way of US 281 Military Highway, and no recreational structures associated with the park would be impacted. This small community park is maintained by Cameron County and is located at the intersection of FM 1577 with US 281 Military Highway. TxDOT anticipates making a de minimis determination under Section 4F of the Department of Transportation Act of 1966 regarding the impacts of the project on the park property. A Section 4F de minimis finding means the proposed project would not adversely affect the activities, features, or attributes that qualify the park for protection under Section 4F. Cameron County and TxDOT will consider comments received during the environmental process before making a final Section 4F de minimis determination. Public comments on the effects of the proposed project on the activities, features, or attributes of Don Jose Esparza Park may be submitted as described at the end of this presentation. Property acquisitions will follow federal and state laws and policies. The Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisitions Policy Act of 1970, or the Uniform Act, is the federal law that is followed for appraisals, negotiations, and relocation of families or businesses. Right-of-way brochures are available on the TxDOT website. Titles 2 and 3 of the Uniform Act discuss the rights of property owners. Independent fee appraisers will appraise each individual property needed as additional right-of-way. Each affected property owner will receive a certified letter from the appraiser requesting a meeting with him or her in order to inspect the property and provide them the opportunity to accompany them to perform a pre-appraisal inspection. They will also request permission to enter a property for inspection of improvements. The appraiser will determine the land value, improvement value, and damages to the remainder, if any, of the property to be acquired. With the initial offer, an appraisal will be provided. This will be forwarded to the landowner by certified return receipt requested mail as dictated by state law. The project currently has available money for construction and right-of-way acquisition. The acquiring agency will start the acquisition process once the environmental clearance is obtained. The property owner can accept the offer based on the appraisal or submit a written counteroffer based on information that can be supported by documentation, such as appraisals or bids, which must be submitted by the property owner for review. If for some reason the property cannot be acquired through negotiations, the acquiring agency has the authority to proceed with condemnation proceedings and continue with a special commissioner's hearing, but only as a last resort. 3 special commissioners are appointed by the county court at law judge to hear the evidence of both the landowner and the acquiring agency. The hearing is generally informal and not in a courtroom, but rather in a public meeting room. A property owner may hire an attorney at their own expense to represent them, or they may wish to represent themselves. Based upon the testimony given, the special commissioners issue an award, which would be their determination of value. Once the acquiring agency has deposited the amount of this award in the registry of the court, that property is now in possession of the state in order to continue with construction of the project. Either the landowner or the acquiring agency can appeal the award of special commissioners, and a court proceeding would then be rescheduled to resolve the issue of the value by a jury. Property owners will be reimbursed for any reasonable incidental expenses incurred in transferring title of their property to the state. Expenses eligible for reimbursement generally include recording fees, processing fees to obtain a lien license, a similar required expense to convey the real property along with any penalties that are required for prepayment of any pre-existing recorded mortgage entered into good faith encumbering the property. If it is necessary to relocate people from their homes or businesses, the acquiring agency would be required to comply with the provisions mandated by federal and state law to minimize the impact and financial hardships to persons who are being displaced. Information about the benefits, services, and right-of-way acquisition schedule can be obtained by calling the TxDOT District Office at 956-702-6287. The schematic for both phases of the project was completed in summer 2020. Currently, TxDOT is finalizing the environmental documentation and completing the public involvement process for both the phases in compliance with NEPA and Chapter 26 of the Parks and Wildlife Code. Public involvement will continue throughout the environmental documentation process, and environmental clearance for both phases is expected in fall 2022. Final design for the first phase of the project from FM 1421 to FM 1577 is expected to be completed in spring 2023, followed by right-of-way acquisition and utilities coordination in spring 2027. The first phase will let or be open to contractors for bidding in summer 2027, and construction is expected to begin in fall 2027. The schedule for the second phase of the project from FM 1577 to FM 732 will follow the same process from final design through the beginning of construction, the dates of which are still to be determined. Please note that the project schedule and dates are subject to change. Written comments from the public regarding the proposed project are requested and may be submitted via email to nolan.nicholas@txdot.gov or via mail by downloading and filling out a comment card available on the project website and sending to the TxDOT FAR District Office at 600 West I-2, FAR, Texas 78577. Comments can also be submitted by visiting the project website, searching US 281 Military Highway, and clicking on the Submit Your Comment button. Verbal comments can also be submitted by calling 956-215-8305 to leave a voicemail. All comments must be received on or before Friday, October 28, 2022. Responses to comments received will be available online once they've been prepared at www.txdot.gov, keyword search US 281 Military Highway. If you have any general questions or concerns regarding the virtual hearing or in-person option, please contact Ezekiel Gonzalez, PE at 956-702-6209 between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. or email ezekiel.gonzalez@txdot.gov. On behalf of the Texas Department of Transportation, I sincerely thank you for your participation in this public hearing for the US 281 Military Highway project. We would also like to thank La Encantada Elementary School for allowing us to use this facility for the hearing. Please remember to submit your comments by Friday, October 28, 2022.